Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Card Fellas Shorty. Hobby talk, just bite size. That's the way we like to talk about that. And Chris is here. I'm Matt. Good to see you tonight, Chris. Card shows. We're going to be talking about them. We're going to talk about our pet peeves. We talk about what we like, what we don't like. And I got this topic idea from something called Card Chat Newsletter. Now, if you don't subscribe to that, I recommend that you do. It's curated by a collector. Her name is Susan. She goes by Suze on Twitter. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm not going to try. She works in the hobby. She used to work for Topps, Beckett, now Golden. You can find her on Twitter. Her handle is Yanks Chick, YANXCHICK. She provides exceptionally good content on Twitter for people in the hobby. I recommend her follow and I recommend the subscribe to the newsletter. In her newsletter, she talks about this topic, card shows. Now, for her, she talks about the love-hate relationship she has with card shows. And as a female in the hobby, she talks about the disrespect she feels when she walks around the show and talks to dealers. Now, I can't relate to her specific situation, obviously, but I get what she's saying, and I can certainly see where that's the case. There's a lot of people out there who kind of judge people as they come and they go. And I just want to say, jumping to the conclusions is not the way you want to approach this, because, you know, we're trying to be inclusive to all of the people who do this, because there's new people, there's young people, there's women, there's men, there's all kinds of people, and we want to grow the hobby. We want the hobby to flourish, and card shows are one of the places that happens. And it can be very intimidating for people to come to a card show, try to approach somebody and talk to them about their cards, especially people who have been in the hobby for so long and they feel like they know everything. Chris, when you and I got back into the hobby, it was overwhelming to walk into a card shop and go, what the hell is that box selling for $1,000? And you and I went to the National last year in Chicago, and that was our first experience with the National. It was overwhelming for me. You and I had an experience there that we just kind of left our heads scratching going, what are these guys doing? What are these dealers doing? You want to share that one interaction we had with that one dealer that kind of left us just going, what are we doing?
Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about already on this show this year is the 1980 Topps basketball set. And it really wasn't something of that much interest to me until maybe, it was probably, we went to the National in 2021 in the summer, probably the spring of 2021. I went to a local show and found a ton of 1980 Topps basketball singles that were in fantastic shape at really, really good prices. I mean, a lot of just kind of semi-star stuff for, $1, 50 cents, 75 cents. And I kind of stacked up on that stuff. And I mean, I pretty much bought everything the guy had and really enjoyed it, enjoyed kind of going through it, making part of my collection. And then we ended up going down to the National, maybe 3 or 4 months later. And I went up to this table and there was a binder full of that stuff. And it was really, the way it was priced was really vague. It was just like, yeah, cards in here are 25 cents to $10, basically, is what it said on the binder. So it was like, no idea really what this guy was expecting to get out of this binder. So I just said, hey, how much do you want for this whole binder? And there was kind of a younger guy there, and he's like, well, I don't know. I'll have to talk to my boss. And he kind of turns around to this guy that was grumpy and crotchety and is like, hey, this guy's interested in buying the entire binder. And the guy just looks at me and just basically just yelled at me. He's like, you're not going to build a set out of this binder. And like, that was the answer. And I was just like, okay. And basically just walked away. I mean, it was like he wanted that binder to be able to show that he had it and could display it. And that he had these cards, and was like almost put off by the fact that somebody wanted to buy them. I mean, it was just an odd and bizarre kind of experience. And yeah, I don't know. who knows what I really could have bought the thing for, and it probably would have been way more than what I really wanted to spend,
Sure.
just based on his reaction. But the way that the thing was priced, and again, we'll get into that. Like, I had no idea if he wanted $400 for it or $4,000 for it. It was hard to know. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the pet peeves that I have too is guys come to the show and they don't really know what the value of some of their cards are. And that's the thing that I think is interesting to me. Like, I feel like I have a really good handle of the cards that I have and their value. And if I'm going to be going to the show or a show and setting up, I feel like I should know the cards that are at least in front of me in my display. I mean, I might have some stuff in the back that I have to look up, but um, that's a clear pet peeve of mine is not clear pricing. I think that's one of the things that I would love to see. I'd love to see prices on cards. Don't make me ask you. Don't make me hunt you down because there's so many people at these card shows now. It's hard sometimes to get their attention, and so I think that's a plus and it's a negative. The plus is these shows are happening. There's a lot of people going to these shows. That shows you that the hobby is thriving. So the fact that we're back in person, having these shows, a lot of people are showing up, a lot of places you don't have to wear masks. Those are the positives. But when you show up, that means that you're kind of looking around guys as, they're looking and they're having conversations. And, I just want to know how much that Kobe Bryant card is. And if you put the sticker on it, you might get a sale. And instead, I have to sit there, wait for you to have a conversation about, whatever it is you're talking about for, many minutes. And then I have to ask you, and then you tell me it's overpriced, and then I move on. So that's a couple of the pet peeves. I do love the fact that buyers have so much more knowledge than they ever have before. The idea of what's last sale comps, those are the common things you hear at card shows. I love the fact that buyers have the idea that even the sellers both have an idea of what the value of the cards are right now, and so I appreciate that. So I also appreciate card shows where they have good Wi-Fi or they have good connections, so you can look up eBay. And Chris, I think that's a major game changer from when you and I were in the hobby. Because I remember when I was younger, you'd go to the card shop and you try and sell to the card shop people, and they'd try and get you. They'd try and snap you up because you were a younger kid, and they were like, "Well, that card's not in very good shape. We'll give you $10 for it." And you're a kid, you're like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds good." And then they turn around and sell it for 30. You just there's certain I feel like there's a certain level of even playing field when it comes to the technology too at the card shows.
yeah, with the old Beckett style stuff,
Yeah, right.
stuff, and that's the thing. What's funny actually is I still see it when you go to stores or go to shows. Is still people for some reason have Beckett pricing on their cards. He's like, all right. And then you talked about no prices. You talked over prices. The other thing you said is just kind of show up. I can't tell you how many times I go to a show and I'm looking at a dealer's stuff and there's nobody there. Like the guy left. Like he's gone. Like what do I actually had that happen at the National on opening night. I'm sort of trying to negotiate some prices on. I wanted to buy some sets, and it was like, well, Jim Bob's not here, and it's like, well, geez, the show just opened. Like, where's Jim Bob? So it was a weird deal, and I don't know. So be there at your booth, and I know that there's times you want to go out and walk around and see things, and I get
Right.
that. You can't be at your table all the time, but I actually used to get tables at shows back in the day when I was young. Like that's what I used to do, and you walk around when you look around and the room's empty. You don't walk around the first 2 hours of the show, at least as far as I'm concerned anyway. The other ones when you walk up there and the dealer's looking at his phone, who knows, looking at Facebook or whatever, and it's like they don't even look up and say hi. It's just like you're looking at their stuff and they're just like bored that you're there. I don't know. That's another one that kind of drives me nuts. But the thing is, like you said, when we first got back into this thing, people are going to shows and people are interested in this hobby, and it's growing, and these rooms aren't getting any bigger. So
Right.
a lot of times you go into these rooms and they're just packed, and it's hard to move around. We we kind of knew that was going to happen when we went to the National, just because, it
Yes.
was the first one in a couple of years, and, there was a lot of excitement, and it definitely was packed. But even just going to our local shows right now, especially you go in there the first few hours, it is very, very busy in there, and it's hard to move around. And people sometimes will get up in front of a table and they'll just stand there, and sometimes they're talking about relevant stuff, sometimes they're not talking about relevant stuff, and sometimes it just seems like they're just camped out there. And it
Yes.
just makes it hard to kind of do business when you have that going on. The other thing I'll say is, if you're planning on going to a card show and know that it's going to be super busy and be a lot of people around you, think about maybe sneaking in a shower that morning. It's amazing to me how many times you go to these places and you stand next to a guy and it's just like just horrific, and it's like,
Yes.
we as card collectors, and you're in better shape than I am, but some of us big sweaty dudes, like, we got to shower once in a while or it can get pretty rough. So that'd be my other recommendation.
Oh, that's fantastic. I did not have bathing on my list, but you're absolutely right. I think that can surely deter you from approaching a table. One of the things I absolutely love, and you and I both brought our kids to the National as well, is I love all the kids who go up to dealers and they're wheeling and dealing. And
Yeah.
I made that kind of a point of emphasis for my son. I said, "You want any cards? You go talk to the dealer." Like,
Right.
and he's 12. He was 12 at the time, and I said, "You have to go tell the dealer what you want, how much you're willing to spend, and that's how you are going to get that card. I will give you some money to go do it. You bring your own money. This is on you. I'm not your dad here. I am just your chaperone." And I love that. And I see that happening even at our local shops. Kids will come in with their briefcases and, they'll try and trade up or they'll try and negotiate. I absolutely love that. I think, anytime you can get kids away from a screen where they can have conversations with adults, learn how to interact, I think that's such a fantastic part of this. And that's, to me, what I remember about the hobby was the trading aspect. You had to trade, you had to talk to people to trade, and it was a negotiation, and you really learned to have a conversation with, you had to, it was argumentation, 101. You had to make a right argument to get that card. And if it was too easy to get that card, maybe you were the one who were getting swindled. So it's a delicate balance, but I love seeing the kids at the tables and at the shows. And I asked my son, I said, "What do you like about going to the shows?" And he's like, "I love the 50-cent, racks where I can just sit and I can look through and I can flip." He's like, "There's a lot of really good cards for 50 cents to $1, like autos, jerseys, rookie cards that are kind of those sub stars." And he's like, "I love those." He's a guy who collects like Michael Thomas. He's like, "I can always find like Michael Thomas cards in those boxes," or, other guys who are on that fringe, Adam Thielen jersey cards, and, just kind of random things like that he likes. And he can get out of there with 4 or 5 new cards for $5. So a lot of good things for the kids to see there too. And, I'd like to see the hobby and these dealers, treat the kids with the same respect that they would adults. And that goes for the females as well, because I don't see a lot of females at our local card shows, but they're there. And I know there are female hobbyists, at the national level, as Suze was talking about. So, it'd be cool to see if, all right, let's let this kid come and talk to me, and let's have an adult-like conversation.
Yeah. Well, like your son, I also love the bargain boxes. But one of the things that drives me nuts in the bargain box is just like football, baseball, hockey, basketball, all in a box together in the same row. I say you got to sort those things by sport. What I don't want, though, even though you see this too, is to see those boxes sorted by player. Because to me, when it's that sorted, like, the bargains go pretty quick. People weed them out. They find there. So you kind of want some level of kind of, disorganization, because that kind of gives you that, that's how you find them little gold nuggets. They don't just have a big pool of gold nuggets if you're going out gold mining. It's mixed in with all the dirt and stuff. So you got to kind of mix it in.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful. So here's how we want the table to be set up. Organize your showcase. Keep your dollar bin disorganized.
Right. Yeah.
All right, there we
I
go.
want it organized by sport, but not by player.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that way I feel like there's a potential for nuggets in there.
And I like that's a great point. I remember that from the National. Remember, I found a table where they just had a bunch of random like 80s basketball. You and I were really into 80s basketball at that time, and I found a dealer that had all those old basketball star cards, and I just sat there. I had a chair, had a table, and I just sat there and I shuffled through them looking for the best ones in shape. And that was, to me, and I think I ended up spending about $12, $14, what the case, buying them for $2 to $3, $4, and I ended up coming away with like 7 or 8 of them, and that was what I remember about the National. And so I think you're absolutely right. Put the gold, a little bit of gold in the dirt, and let people dig.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing that I would say before we wrap this up is, and we're seeing this a lot at card shows right now because people invested last year when the market was at its peak, and you hear this a lot of shows now. You know, what do you want for that card? Well, I want $300 for it. That's what I got in it. And it's like, okay, well, it's selling for $150.
Yeah.
So it's not my fault that you got 300 in it because you bought it at the wrong time. So we got to get a little bit realistic. And I know people want to recoup their dollars, but
yes,
you know, the value is the value. And you know, I saw a lot online, and sometimes you just got to go, yeah, I lost on that one. Let's get the money back that we can get on it and move on. And that's what you just have to do.
yeah. And we saw deals break up over $5. I think you and I were sitting at a table, and the guys, I think it was the same dealer that you dealt with, where his price was like $325, and this guy was like $315. No, $320. No, and the guy walked away over $5. He ended up coming back and paying the guy's price, but it was like they were quibbling for like 15 minutes, and all I wanted to know, and that was another point. I wanted to ask a question, and I'm watching this happen. Like, guys, I will give you the extra $10 that you're fighting over right now because I want to get something. It's like this. It's an interesting, it's interesting people watching, and that's what I really enjoy about it too. And there's always shows going on, and I always find myself going to it, at least to just go walk around. And I love seeing some of the cards too. Like, that's the one thing, cards that are unobtainable for me. Right. I love seeing those cards in person. There's one guy at our local shop or our local show here. He usually brings cards, even cards that he doesn't want to sell, just to show them off, and I'm like, that's cool. Can I see it? Can I just look at it closely? And he has one that was, I think, a Babe Ruth, a piece of his bat or an auto. I can't remember what it was, but he was like, yeah, that one's not for sale. But it's just cool to see those out in the wild and be able to say, yeah, I saw that piece of art. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. Well, man, I think we've kind of covered the bases when it comes to card show pet peeves, and just want to encourage everybody to go out to some shows, enjoy them, see what those things are, and make sure you take a shower before you go. For Matt, I'm Chris, and we will see you on the next show.